In clause 18, we talk about injury to person or loss and or damage of properties and indemnity to employer. Under this clause, we have 4 subclauses. The relevant statements are given here. For full statements, you may refer to Pen Contract 2018. This clause is about the injury or death of the person, losses and or damage of property, as well as the claim by the workers. This shall all be under the liability of the contractor. We see a term here, indemnify. It means the protections or security against any loss or other financial burden. Normally, we refer this to the insurance. First of all, no one would like anything to happen during the commencement of the work. Both the contractors and the employer would like their works to be carried out smoothly without any accidents. However, you know that the construction job sometimes can be quite dangerous. It involves a lot of heavyweight materials as well as machineries, which sometimes can lead to injury and death, losses and damage to the property. Therefore, the industrial practice will have all this insured. It is so that the liability or risk of the contractors are to be transferred to the insurance company. Now let us look into the conditions. We know that the liability is on the contractor. A contractor should identify the employer in case of any of these happen. This includes the damage, expenses, liability, loss, claim or proceeding due to personal injury or death or due to the loss or the damage of the property. The property here involves the works done as well as the other properties of the employer. It is not restricted within the work as stipulated within the contract. If there are properties of the employer experiencing any losses or damage due to the project, the contractor is also liable. And these losses, damage and injury normally happen during the executions of the works, which also include the negligence, omissions, default or breach of the contract by the contractor as well as the person under the contractor's responsibility. In another word, when it comes to these incidents, no matter what, the contractor is liable. This is further elaborated in the next clause, that the indemnities are not to be defeated. It means that the liability are not to be defeated, nor it will be reduced due to any reasons as a result of the negligence or omissions of the employer, architect, consultant, or other authorized representatives who fail to supervise or control the contractor's site operations, methods of working or temporaries, or failing to detect, prevent, or remedy defective works, or failing to ensure proper performance of the contractors under the contract. That means in the case of negligence, omissions and defaults or breach of the contract by the contractors or the persons under the contractor responsibility, when any of this happen, even though partial of the responsibilities are due to the supervising parties, such as the employer, architect, consultant, and other representative, this shall not defeat or lessen the liability of the contractor. The contractor is fully liable over that. There is no room for the contractor to blame those under the supervising parties in order to release their responsibility. Since we talk about the insurance, maybe let us discuss an overview related to the insurance. Basically, there are two main categories of the insurance. There are insurance needs to be prepared by the contractor, and there will be insurance prepared by the employer. Both parties have their own obligations and liability. Let us look into various types of insurance and coverage. First, insurance is required against personal injury or death and or damage of the property. This one is related to this. And then we have SOCSO, Employee Social Security Scheme for local workmen. This is applicable for the local workmen who have the SOCSO account. As for the workmen that do not have SOCSO account, they will need an insurance to cover them. In fact, this SOCSO itself is an insurance to the local workmen. In another word, if you have SOCSO already, you do not need another insurance to cover it. It is only when you have local workmen without SOCSO, then you will need insurance. In the case that there are foreign workers, the contractor will need another insurance known as Workers' Compensation Insurance for foreign workers. And then there are contractors or risk insurance. This one is meant to cover the properties against all the risks throughout the project. There shall be coverage on the new buildings. Those are the building structures as required from the contractors to build under the project. The contractor will need to have one contractors or risk insurance, which normally known as the CAR insurance. At the same time, the employer will need one contractors or risk insurance. In the case that there is potential risk to the existing building, for example, when the construction site is very near to the existing building of the employer, or probably the existing building is within the site of the project, the employer will need another contractors or risk insurance to cover this existing building. All of this insurance will be prepared by the contractor, and these two insurance will be prepared by the employer. Now let us look at the insurance schemes related to the employee. I guess these are something that you need to know as an employee in Malaysia. Some of those have been mentioned in pen contract, while the others are commonly practiced in the industry. First, we talk about the EPF or the KWSP. I guess all the Malaysians know the EPF. It is basically the Employees Provident Fund, or in Bahasa Melayu, Kumpulan Wan Simpanan Pekerja. This EPF is under an Act 1991. It is basically an organization assisting Malaysians to save for retirement. More specifically, it is related to the savings for employee retirement, management of the saving for the retirement purpose, as well as for matter incidental. Many do not know that this EPF is not only savings of the retirement. In the case of the death of a member, the nominees of the member is also entitled for the death benefits. That means the nominees can claim for those benefits. This can also be considered a part of the insurance. Next, we talk about the SOCSO. It is the Employee Social Security Scheme, or in Bahasa Melayu, Pertubuhan Keselamatan Sosial. There is also a designated act. It is under the Ministry of Human Resources. It provides social security protections to the employees and their dependents through the Employment Injury Scheme, as well as the Invalidity Scheme. You may also consider this as a part of the social insurance. If you are local, Malaysian, normally your company will help you to pay for this SOCSO. The payment to this SOCSO is similar to the payment to the EPF. It will be automatically deducted from your salary. The employee will contribute on the employee portion, and the employer will contribute on the employer portion. Whoever working as an employee, when you receive your payment slip from the company, kindly check if you have been contributing to this EPF and SOCSO. In the case that the company is not contributing the EPF and SOCSO, theoretically it is your right. This should be part and parcel of the payments to all the employees in Malaysia. It is also a good practice of you to periodically check with EPF and SOCSO to ensure that they actually pay for your EPF and SOCSO. This is also your right. You never know if your employer claim of paying for this EPF and SOCSO in your payment slip, but the relevant amount has never been paid to EPF and SOCSO. Next, we come to the Workmen Compensation Insurance. It is under the acts of the Workmen's Compensation Act 1952. This one is meant for the local workmen without SOCSO. That means if you are Malaysian and you have SOCSO already, this insurance shall not be relevant to you. But if you do not have SOCSO and you are Malaysian, by right you should have this Workmen Compensation Insurance. This will provide protections to the employee to insure against any injuries or disease arising due to the cause of the employment. That means this is covering for the injuries or disease as a result of you carry out your work under the employment. Next, there will be Foreign Worker Compensation Scheme. This is meant for the foreign worker, and normally foreign workers are not protected under this SOCSO. Therefore, there should be a scheme designated for that. It is meant for the personal accident and repatriation's benefit due to any accidents during the employment. Next, we have the Employment Insurance System EIS scheme. There is also another designated act for that, which is in 2017. This one is meant for the employment and re-employment issues. It provides temporary assistance for up to 6 months for the employee who has lost their employment. In the case that the employee suddenly loses their job, there is a transition period for the employee to seek for a new job. During this transition period, there is no income for this employee to survive. Therefore, this EIS scheme will cover 6 months of the expenses up to a certain limit in order to ease the burdens of this employee during these transition periods or finding the new job. It is not only covering the financial assistance, There is also a re-employment placement program for those who are looking for new employment. These are the insurance and schemes related to the employee which you should know. Those which are mentioned in pen contract are those with the stars.